So I'm going to talk a little bit about payments. A little bit back my background. I worked for IBM doing encrypted distributed databases in the 90s. Sounds familiar, with workflow included. Then I found about Bitcoin around when it came out, and as I was discussing with other people, never really saw the value until we saw this group of people all who had Bitcoin. I was speaking to Vlad last night, and I'm going to change my discussion a bit. So we're going to talk about payments, but I'm going to do a little emphasis on stable coins because we had a really good conversation last night about stable coins. Our company, Tempo, does remittances. So basically helping people send money home. As you might know, remittance is actually bigger than foreign aid. It's a huge business. We've got this hub where we've sort of integrated traditional banks and some blockchain companies, such as you probably know a few of them here, like Coins, BIP001, OKLink, which is kind of an aggregator, and Unicoin for India. So what's the problem? You probably know this for everyone who's been here, but assuming there's some newbies here, what's the problem with the bank system? And first problem is, as you probably know, a lot of money's stuck in cash. And that cash is stuck in these things called Nostra and Vostra accounts, which are in 2 different countries. And it's basically helped the settlement process. As you can see, like when we send money to international countries, typically we see a €10 fee from each bank. Basically, as it goes up the chain using correspondent banking, we see 10 from our bank. The bank in the middle might get 10, like a Citibank or a Commerce Bank in Germany. And the payout bank would get another €10. So that's a €30 minimum charge to do an international SWIFT wire. And assuming Bitcoin fees don't go past €30, we're still good. And settlement is normally, it can be a couple of days. We also see that the FX spreads for emerging markets, such as India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, they're really wide, and they're somehow controlled by the government. Banks also typically use loans as some way of getting FX volumes. This is an interesting slide, which basically says that this is a McKinsey study. They think that banks, as they go to blockchain, assuming they all do, in the next 5 years, you'll see 80% reduction in profit margin on settlement as they move to blockchain-based settlement. So what do we see on a daily basis? Like what's the feeling on the street? So we have lots of problems with Bitcoin as a currency, mostly because of volatility. That's the number one reason. The other issue that I have particularly is with exchanges. A lot of them are unregulated. I know Bitstamp has got a license in Luxembourg, but none of the other major exchanges are in any form regulated. We are in a regulated company. We've got a French PSD license. So the Bank of France sends in people and they sit in our office for months at a time. And they check to make sure that all of our partners are following the same procedures that we do. So we've got regulatory risk. We've got this thing, what I see, because I came from the stock market trading, I see a lot of toxic order flow in these exchanges. So these things called momentum ignition algorithms. So they'll drive the price up really quickly, and they'll sell it slowly back down. And that's all banned. And we used to have that in the stock market in the 80s and 90s. It's mostly banned. You see that a lot on Poloniex, like almost on any coin on any given day. You can probably see someone using that strategy to make money. The other one I see is this thing called layering, where people go and put big orders in the book all the way down. And those aren't real orders. They're going to pull them as soon as you try and hit them. So I've got issues in terms of if I'm trying to move €1 million through a day, trying to get liquidity on even Bitcoin, which is the most liquid. Another issue that I have is often our banking partners' rates, I would say half the time are better than what we get in Bitcoin. And the other issue is that it's really only Bitcoin right now. I'd like to see Ethereum, I'd like to see Stellar, I'd like to see other cryptos get some acceptance in the remittance space, because like our partners like Coins and BIP001, they'll only accept Bitcoin. There's no Ethereum, there's no Stellar, There's no like stable coins except for ours, which I'll talk about. Um, and market makers, we can see that all the volumes are sort of focused on about 5 exchanges, which are fairly liquid. But and then the other issue is if we did our own market making, there's no real the option market on Bitcoin is somewhat limited. So what do we have right in crypto space right now? I think we've got permissionless, which for me is why the internet got huge. Anyone can connect to any one of these blockchains and do a transaction. And I hope that doesn't go away with banks and regulation. It's open. Generally, the players there are transparent. Like, for example, when you do a borrow or loan on Polo, you can see there's an order book in there. When you try to short a stock in the stock market, you've probably never seen a short market, right? Because it's hidden. It's hidden in the books of the bank, and they make about 20 to 30% profit margin on borrowing stock. So one thing we've got in the Bitcoin space is we've got some transparency. Although, as a caveat, you can't borrow and loan Bitcoin and then trade it on another exchange. So there's an issue there that everything's tied in on the exchange level. We've got great tech, got a store of value, and there's often local demand, which is great. So like in Philippines or India, often the price will be higher than the global price. So just like 3 weeks ago, after they demonetized in India, we saw the price of Bitcoin shooting up. So it was about 5% above the price in Europe. So, but if we're doing a remittance and we're making only 1 to 2% profit margin, and Bitcoin is so volatile, how do we make money? So one of the things I really like is these stable coins. We issued one called the Euro T. We're using Stellar, and it's using distributed exchange, as you probably know. And we're doing market making between the Philippine currency and euro. Who here owns any USDT? Does anyone own USDT? Okay. How good is your insurance, do you think, on that USDT? If the Chinese government comes, you know it's in a Taiwanese bank. So look at the little clause. That bank is insured up to 100,000 US dollars, and they've got $220 million in one account right now. So that money could very easily go away. That's why I'm not a huge fan of regulation, but regulated entities in some ways are good for this sort of activity. As Tempo, the French government comes and validates, we have the money sitting in the account at the end of every month, and then at the end of every quarter, they actually call the bank to verify. And the other good thing is it's insured up to an unlimited amount. Okay, let's talk a bit about future use. So one thing I'm really excited about, which maybe you've heard of, is PSD2, which is a European regulation, which will give 3-second settlement to SEPA wires. And it's also got a built-in KYC protocol. So you can actually validate the person against their bank account, and it's built into PSD2. So for us, this is great. We can use this for domestic, and we can use blockchain for international. I'm really excited about that. That's coming out November and early next year. I'm also really excited about decentralized exchanges. And I'll talk just quickly about a couple of them that we've played with. BitShares, I'm iffy about. It was one of the first, but I'm not a huge fan of the consensus mechanism. BitSquare, who here has used BitSquare? Has anyone used BitSquare? No one. You've tried? Tried. Did you get filled on your order? No. It only validates Bitcoin on the one side, which you probably saw. I know the guy's going to probably add Monero, Dash, maybe Ethereum on the validation, so you get two-side validation. It's actually negative leverage. That's one of the issues that I see. You have to post more money than you're going to trade, so it kind of makes it hard. There's no real API, so we can't make a bot that'll trade against a client. There's only one dev, but I like BitSquare a lot. I hope it continues. Ripple, I've got lots of hype around it. We saw the price go up like crazy. When I talk to Santander and a lot of the banking partners we have, no one's using it, the public chain. They're pretty much using the internal chain, and XRP is really being used by speculators, it looks like at this point. And they never documented their consensus mechanism, which I've got a major issue with. Ethereum-based distributed exchanges, like Ether Delta, those really seem to be for coin trading, not really for foreign exchange, which is our business. They're pretty cool. I hope they continue. Stellar is the one we're kind of using primarily. It's a rewrite of Ripple. It's got none of the same code base. And the interesting thing for us is if different partners around the world work together, you can actually have this netting effect where we could send to Bangladesh and someone from the US could be sending to India, and we can net it out. And so we could also send to India. So you can get this netting effect on these blockchains as long as they're distributed exchange. It's got an open API, and the other one is I keep calling it Likey because I lived in Finland, but Lika, which is a Swiss startup, which is going to be used primarily for trading foreign exchange. And we have power gone. So, has anyone used a distributed exchange before for trading any crypto? Okay. Oh, pretty good. 5, 10 people. All Ethereum? Ethereum tokens? Okay. Oh, you used other stuff. Okay. That's good to see. Again, I'm a huge fan because I think we've done one level of distribution. We've done it on the payment level, but get us up to the get us on the exchange level, I think is pretty cool. I have another slide this beautiful slide right here, which compares basically MoneyGram, Western Union, World Remit, TransferWise, Abra, and us. And one of the issues that, again, why we like Stellar and these distributed exchanges, if you think about TransferWise, it's got one of their selling pitches was this P2P thing, so that if you're in the United States and I'm in Europe, and I'm sending to the United States and you're sending to Europe, you can get this midpoint rate, and we get the middle rate. But it's a closed system. We both have to be clients of TransferWise. You have to be a client of TransferWise. I have to be a client of TransferWise. With these open distributed matching engines, we could both be anywhere. We can get the mid price. So that's for me is one of the biggest. The other exciting thing is I'd love to see take off more is distributed loan books. So lending of tokens. Right now, there's no real good way of if I need to borrow some Bitcoin for an hour, 2 hours a day, there's no real way of doing that efficiently.
Anthony, I truly apologize. Something happened with the stuff right here. So I guess it's just the sign that we're going downstairs. Everything is going to work there. So if you can wrap it up right now and then continue that's also an option.
Any questions, actually?
All right. I'm so sorry. Sorry. So if we have any questions with regards to it. Yeah, okay. Fabio, nice.
Are you talking a little bit more about stable coins?
Yeah, so stable coins for me, like when you say stable coins, what do you mean by stable coin? For me, I'm interested in ones that are tied to a currency. So one we're working on is a euro-based one. It'll be 100% insured, and it'll be issued only up to the insurance level. We've got a European insurer that'll be insuring it up to several million euros worth of value initially. The only catch in these stable coins is always the KYC aspect. And there we are. Voila.
We have a question more, by the way, so let's continue.
Okay. So and Abra again has no open API. It's person-to-person thing. Anyway, this is just my wrap-up. What's the stablecoins, the future, and I'd love to see deeper derivatives markets. I'd love to see more open distributed exchanges, which I think we're seeing now in Ethereum. There's about 2 or 3 right now. I'd like to see intraday lending markets.